All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Science of Peace. It's been a minute, but it's been real. So, can we talk about psilocybin? I'm really just like tapping into exactly what psilocybin is and does, right? So I know I have been most familiar with, and when I say psilocybin, you might have heard people say shrooms or mushrooms, right? Psychedelics. So the only like reference that I really knew, about psilocybin and mushrooms was when people would talk about how, they did shrooms in like a recreational setting, like at a party or, something similar to that type setting. But I'm not sure if a lot of people um, are aware of that, you know, psilocybin is not really supposed to be used for recreational use, but more for spiritual reasons, right? And it's been classified as a psychedelic. So, what piqued my interest, and I'm like totally like nerding out on the whole psychedelic realm, and really just focusing more on shrooms as opposed to um, LSD and or MDMA, which is ecstasy. I think I said that right. The acronym um, or the letter formation, right? And so what piqued my interest really was because I came across a documentary, or actually a friend of mine told me about this documentary on Netflix called "How to Change Your Mind," right? So I'm like, okay, start watching it, and I'm like, hey, yo, like this. I've been looking for this information, you know what I'm saying? So that what you seek is seeking you, right? And I feel like it's the missing piece to like really healing. And so I encourage you to go check out, and I'm not getting paid for this. I ain't got no affiliate link or nothing like that, but I encourage you to go check out How to Change Your Mind on Netflix. It's a documentary. It's like docu-series. It's like, I think it's like 4 parts, right? So they break down each psychedelic and the science and the research that has re-emerged, right? So I don't know if a lot of people knew this or not, but John Hopkins University is one of the leading researchers in psychedelics. And so, and they have been for like many, many years, like since the 60s or whatever. And so, um, on the documentary, man, like it breaks down like LSD, and how they're using it to help heal people in therapy. And then they get into psilocybin, which is the shrooms, and the healing properties of psilocybin. And there's been so much progress, and you know, with the patients who have been experimenting using it in a controlled way. Now, this is in a controlled environment, right? And and they also do one on ecstasy. And so I just encourage you to go check it out. Like, I'm totally geeking on it right now. If there's any psilocybin geeks out there, like, please drop some shrooms in the comments, and let's talk about it. Because what I learned briefly from the documentary is how, like I said, so they have this thing called psychedelic assisted therapy, right? And so they basically, in the way that they control it, is that you're in a safe space. You build a relationship with the people that are going to be assisting you in the therapy, and they're like working with people who have like depression, um, anxiety, PTSD, right? And the results are like phenomenal, right? Even people with diseases, you know what I'm saying? And um, so basically, like, you're in a controlled room, um, a comfortable, safe space. So it doesn't look like a doctor's clinic or anything like that. It's very therapeutic, the environment, the feel. You're there with a therapist, of course, doctor, um, and whoever else they have assisting, right? And so you take the psilocybin and lay down on a couch, or sometimes they were on a bed, and then so that when it starts to kick in and you start to experience the psilocybin effects, right? Um, and these patients are like remembering, and they're bringing up things that may have caused the the trauma that may have caused them to be depressed or anxious, or one of the gentlemen had OCD, in a combination of the depression and the anxiety, right? And they're bringing up like stuff that happened to them that they had suppressed into their subconscious. To It's like some of them didn't even remember it. Like, for instance, there was one guy who went back to the womb when he was in the womb, and he remembered that the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, and he had to make a choice then of whether he was going to fight or or not. You know what I'm saying? And he chose to fight, and he was able to push the umbilical cord from around his neck. But because he didn't even know that happened. Nobody ever told him that happened, right? So, but the trauma of it created some type of depression for him and anxiety throughout the majority of his life. One of the things that caused, that was at the root of the depression and anxiety. And so he went back to his mom, and he's like, telling her about the experience, and she like kind of confirms it, stamps it, and she's like, when you were in the womb, there was a time where your heart started to slow down, and doctors and of course her were kind of nervous as to what was going to happen, but then it stopped, you know what I'm saying? And I guess that's when he removed the cord from his neck. And so, like, just like that experience, like, you go back to the womb for him, and it's different for everyone because everybody doesn't have trauma in the womb, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of tailored to you specifically, and I want to say this too, because the word psychedelic, right? So the word psychedelic actually means mind revealing, or soul revealing, or mind opening, or mind revealing, because the word psyche comes from the ancient Greek word which means mind or soul, and delic comes from the Greek word delun, which means revealing or opening, right? So literally, psychedelic means mind opening, mind revealing, or soul revealing, soul opening, right? And so literally that's what it's doing, because like therapy is good, right? And a lot of the people in the study, like, they had tried everything from prescription drugs to therapy to, like, they done went through everything, and nothing was working for years and years and years. And then, they participated in this study, and majority of them, 90% of the people that were in the experiment said that was the number one most significant event that they had experienced in their whole life. You know what I'm saying? And for some of them, that was greater than getting married and having a child, or it was a tie. You know what I'm saying? So like, and like from the studies, the ones that participated, a lot of them were like healed after the experience with psilocybin, or if they were doing LSD or the ecstasy in that controlled therapeutic way, right? Being guided by a therapist, being with someone that you feel safe with, and then being able to talk about what you were experiencing during the so-called trip, right? I'm like, wow. Now I haven't done shrooms. I haven't done any psychedelics, but I am now very much interested in participating in some type of psilocybin holistic retreat. So I've been searching and I've been looking, and I found a couple of centers. And of course I'm looking for like more indigenous folk, melanated folk to guide me, because that's what I'm looking for, and I want that to be reflected back to me. So I found one in Jamaica that's led by some Rastas, and that was kind of Jamaica's not too far. Um, I'm here in Maryland, so that's one, and the Rastas was leading it, and so I feel good about that. But I have to I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna do some more research. There was another one because in Jamaica it is legal, right? And so in the states here, it has been approved for scientists to get back into the research. So they've been doing a lot of testing and lab work. But at one point it was shut down completely. And guess why? And this is the crazy part. It was shut down completely. And then psychedelics were put into a category 1 substance like offense. So like if you got, it was banned, and it was considered illegal. And all the labs and the research that they were doing back in the 60s had to be shut down. And basically because the CIA was doing some experiments with the people, and you can go look this up. Go watch that documentary though, it's deep. The CIA was doing experiments with people with psychedelics because they were trying to figure out if they could control the mind for mind control experiments, right? So they were testing this on people. They tested on some soldiers in the military. And what they found was the exact opposite of what they wanted. So they couldn't use it to control people's minds. It actually made people and made the soldiers rebel against rules and being obedient. And so at that time, they were like, oh hell no, like we can't have this out in the public. And pretty much and remember at that time it was like during the 60s, so this was like with the hippie movement, and I don't know if you know, but the hippies was very much into psychedelics and using the shrooms and all of that. And guess what was happening during that time? They started to rebel and revolt against the Vietnam War, saying that they weren't going to go. That's the last thing that the government wanted to hear, because up until before then, the programming of the students, that were in school, like it was pretty deep, where everyone, I ain't gonna say everyone, where the majority of the people were ready to go to war, to sign up and go. You know what I'm saying? And then during the 60s, people started experimenting with psychedelics, and that kind of turned it the other way, where they were like, oh no, we're not going to war. And then they were protesting. And then when the CIA found out, how, the results of the experiment that they were conducting, that it actually made people not follow directions and not want to be controlled, they were like, we're going to stop this. They shut it down. They listed psychedelics as a category 1 substance. And then I think it was Reagan who came out with the whole anti-drug war against drugs. And then they started putting the propaganda out and all these false propaganda, saying that psychedelics would destroy your brain, and that it was making babies malformed, and this is your brain on drugs. Like that whole movement came from the results of psychedelics. Now come on. Like damn. But I just wanted to talk about this for Science of Peace. And if you're interested in more, if you watch a documentary, if you have anything to say about psilocybin and how it has affected you, drop some shrooms down, make some comments, you know what I'm saying? And hey man, it's the Science of Peace. And I look forward to building more with you all. Peace.